Hello everyone, this is Shadow Libra, and we now have 3 Into the Pits. We have the original short story that came out in December of 2019. We have the game that came out in August of 2024. And now we have the interactive novel that came out in December of 2024. However, how are we supposed to apply all 3 Into the Pits into the canon? Let's find out. But before we get into this, don't forget to leave a like, leave a comment, subscribe with notifications on, join my Discord, follow my Instagram, and my Twitter. Now, let's dive into the video. Something I should get out of the way is when it comes to how I interpret the books. I believe Frights games, which pretty much means I believe every single Fazbear Fright story is in the same timeline as the games. I believe this due to Scott's post about the Fazbear Fright series before it came out. Here's what he said. Over the next few years, there are a lot of projects planned, and most are very story-driven. Lots of the later stories will answer some of the biggest questions from the fanbase over this past year, in my opinion. Very few people will likely ever feel completely satisfied, as there are just too many headcanons out there and so many great ideas on where the story could go. But I think there are good things to be found for people who are looking. All I can do is say that some questions will be answered, even if it may not always be the answer you wanted. Be patient. Let me at least say this, future games will look forward, but look to the novels to fill in some of the blanks to the past. He even specifies in a later comment that he is referring to the Fazbear Fright series. Let's look at the way Frights has operated. When playing the games alone, it eventually feels like the series has 2 large gaps that there is not much information on what happens between. There is not much information on what happens between Pizzeria Simulator and Help Wanted, at least not by just playing the games. There also is not a lot of info on what's between Help Wanted and Security Breach. However, the books help fill in the missing information. The Fazbear Frights have certain stories that rely on Pizzeria Simulator for context, such as the Man in Room 1280 and the Stitch Rave Stingers, while the Tales from the Pizzaplex series presents itself as a Security Breach prequel. This is very different from how the original novel trilogy operated. The novels showed events from the FNAF games, but with their own spin on it. Charlie's murder in the novels and Henry remaking her into a robot was their version of Charlie possessing the puppet in the games. Charlie being rebuilt, making William interested in the supernatural, was the novel version of William discovering the supernatural exists. The experiments with the illusion discs and the twisted animatronics was the novel version of the gas experiments and the nightmare animatronics. Elizabeth's death and her being the accident William wants to recreate when committing the missing children's incident is almost the exact same in both timelines. The Silver Eyes is the novel version of the very first FNAF game. The way William views himself as Springtrap is pretty much the same. And finally, the Fourth Closet is the novel version of both Sister Location and Pizzeria Simulator, where we see how the Fun Times possession works, and how the kids remember William is the man who killed them. The novels is the story of the games retold in a unique way, but if you look, the parallels are obvious. However, the Fazbear Frights do not work like that. Instead, these stories are treated as if the events of the games themselves have happened, and we are reading this as stories that happen around the games. The Stitch Rave Stingers talk a lot about the fire from Pizzeria Simulator. However, we never see that fire happen in those books. The only way to know about the fire is by knowing about Pizzeria Simulator's ending. The Man in Room 1280 shows William in a hospital after burning alive in Pizza Sim, and he's being tortured by a vengeful spirit. However, we never see this torture happen. The story relies on the idea that you have played Ultimate Custom Night to know what William is going through. Coming Home is about Susie, and that story relies on us knowing her fate at Freddy's, while Prankster acts as a Help Wanted prequel. showing Jeremy's first experience with Glitch Trap. Tales from the Pizzaplex acts like a giant build-up to Security Breach, showing us multiple events that happen in the Pizzaplex before we get to Security Breach. The point is, these books don't reimagine things, they just give us completely new events, some of which rely on context in the games while others do not. Which matches another thing Scott said about the Fazbear Frights. Some will be directly connected to the games and some not. Stories like The Man in Room 1280, Coming Home, Into the Pit, Prankster, What We Found, and the Stitchgrave Stingers directly connect to the game's plotlines. While stories like The Breaking Wheel, Bunny Call, and He Told Me Everything act as their own standalone story. Even the new interactive novels act as stuff that doesn't reimagine anything in the games. It just creates a new story in the world of the games. VIP is in the Pizzaplex. Nothing necessarily is recreated from Security Breach, but we do get some foreshadowing, such as Monty having a lot of hate towards Glamrock Bonnie, foreshadowing what he does to Glamrock Bonnie in the future. The week before is Phone Guy's backstory, and it presents itself as taking place 1 week before the events of the first game. But today, we are talking about Return to the Pit. Return to the Pit has simple canonicity. If you read the novels and pick all the options intended for the canonical ending, then what you get is literally the exact same story as Into the Pit. There's a few changes in dialogue here and there, but the story itself is unchanged. It's just like the Five Nights at Freddy's movie and the Five Nights at Freddy's movie novelization. The FNAF movie novel is confirmed to be the script as the actors were given when they filmed the movie. I know this because on Christmas of 2023, I bought my friend Maitani a cameo from Christian Stokes, the actor who played Hank in the FNAF movie.
Hello, Maitani. This is Christian Stokes. I play Hank in Five Nights at Freddy's.
And he had something to say about the novelization.
Hope you guys have happy holidays if you celebrate, and keep reading the books. You know, I guess the novelization of the movie's coming out, and there's some different things in there. In fact, just between you and me, the novel is basically the script as I was given to it on the day I was filming it. There's some things in there that I do that aren't in the movie, but are definitely in the book.
The novel is just the movie script while it was being filmed. So while there are a few additions and some changes in dialogue here and there, it is perfectly reasonable to use the novelization to discuss theories about the FNAF movie. Return to the Pit is just the same deal. It's the Into the Pit story, just told in a different medium of storytelling. However, since this time it's an interactive novel, that means you get choices that allow you to go on branch paths, something the original Into the Pit did not allow. One of these branch paths is the morning after Pit Trap has replaced your dad. Oswald's mom thinks the rabbit is your dad, and so do the other adults. In the canonical route, Oswald plays along with this until he's able to think of a way to rescue his real dad. However, one of the options in the interactive novel is to not play along and instead stand up and start throwing pancakes at the yellow rabbit. Think of this as when you get a non-canon ending in a FNAF game, like in Sister Location when you go to the private room, or like in Security Breach when you take the fire escape exit, or in Pizzeria Simulator when you get the Insanity ending speech. All of these routes are non-canon, however, there is still canon stuff in them. And there are things that could have happened if the player canonically made a different choice at one point. However, it did not happen. In this route, Oswald starts to run back to Jeff's Pizza, where he meets Chip, but not the Chip that he knows in 1985. This is an adult. Chip has grown up now, and we even find out that Gabrielle, the girl who told Oswald about her interest in Greek mythology, is actually Chip's daughter. Chip and Gabrielle are part of a group of time travelers who are dedicated to wanting to stop the Yellow Rabbit. Oswald's dad is even the leader of this time-traveling group. That's why he is uncomfortable talking about Freddy's when Oswald asks him about it. You would think it's because of the murders and supernatural events, but no, it's because Oswald's dad is the leader of a time travel group that wants to kill Eleanor. Another route you can do is save the missing children. If you collect enough gold coins, you unlock a secret ending where you can play an arcade game where you are transported into an 8-bit version of Freddy's. Inside the 8-bit Freddy's are the 5 children killed in 1985. You have to guide the kids while Eleanor, taking the form of the yellow rabbit, comes after you. The way you save the kids is by giving them cake, a callback to FNAF 3's Happiest Day minigame. If you do this, then this actually affects time itself, where now the missing children were never killed. William was caught luring them and arrested. Now none of the FNAF story even happens due to this. Well, almost none. Charlie, Garrett, Elizabeth, and Andrew are still dead, but everything after that does not happen. Anyway, what I find interesting is how the world around Oswald turns 8-bit. Even Oswald himself turns into an 8-bit sprite, and instead of the kids actually speaking, they just have a text box show up above their heads. It's like Oswald is inside of a video game, which got me thinking that the Into the Pit game is completely 8-bit. The characters do not speak. You just look at text at the top of the screen. So if it's proven in Return to the Pit that the world in FNAF is capable of sometimes looking like a video game, does that mean throughout the entire Into the Pit game, this is quite literally what Oswald and his surroundings look like? Is Oswald trapped inside a spirit world meant to look like a video game? What I noticed about the Into the Pit game the first time I played is that it was very, very different from the original story. It was not on the same level as the movie and movie novel differences or Into the Pit and Return to the Pit differences. This was a whole new level of differences, where you could argue this is a different story that is just loosely based on Into the Pit. Obviously, some of that is because if you want to translate a book into a video game, you for sure will have to make changes. However, there are also a lot of weird references scattered everywhere in the game, such as the Fredbear posters from Security Breach, the FNAF 4 toys, a mention of Pirate Palooza from Lonely Freddy and the Logbook. There's a poster of Baby, a Rigor Mortis poster, which was Millie's favorite band in Count the Ways. There's the Kids at Play sign, Trash in the Gang, Helpy, Jacko Chica, the Exotic Butters, Michael's Foxy mask, Bounce Pop from FNAF World. There's a reference to the Bite of 83.
Our animatronics may be cute and friendly to look at, but remember, they are complex machines and can be dangerous. Please do not get too close to them. Please do not touch their torso, arms, or face. Please do not shove yours or anyone else's head into their mouth. Again.
Lucky Boy is in the game. The mini Renas lay on a desk like in Room for One More. There's a mention of William's hospital room number, 1280. It's Me appears on a dusty mirror. GGY from Security Breach is even mentioned. Hi, currently editing the video, and I just realized there is even more stuff I forgot to mention. There's also a lot of calls from Ralph in this game.
Hello? Hello? Hey, I know you are doing great. And the animatronics aren't really under your responsibility, but I need to tell you something just in case, alright? The characters like to move around at night when nobody is here. They like to roam around and be themselves. There isn't a concern for your safety here. Just one thing. Try not to let them see you walking or moving around. Then you might be in a bit of a pickle.
And William's Springlock failure is even heard in the game. And there are even references to the novels and movie. From the novel trilogy, we see a picture of William and Henry next to each other in their yellow costumes, and there's a Twisted Ones poster. While when it comes to the movie, there's the BB doll that kept jump scaring Mike, and Garrett's red toy plane is on William's desk. But the most important Easter egg, in my opinion, is that the Stitch Rave himself is in the game. This I don't think should be possible. While there is debate on when Into the Pit takes place in the timeline, I personally believe it to be sometime after the events of Pizzeria Simulator. However, during the Stitch Rave Stingers, Jeff's Pizza is no longer in business, so it should not be possible for the Stitch Rave to exist during Into the Pit, yet he does in this game. I believe what's likely happening is this entire game is taking place inside of the ball pit world, and is reliving the memory of his death over and over again, just like every other Eleanor victim, who was also trapped inside of the ball pit. That would also explain why in one of the endings you get thrown into the shoes of 3 other Eleanor victims, Sarah, Millie, and Greg, who were victims to Eleanor in the form of Funtime Freddy, Fetch, and just Eleanor herself. The game over music for Into the Pit may even imply loop theory, as we hear the sounds of children's souls who may all be trapped inside the ball pit. That would also explain why Into the Pit's game seems to be a completely different experience from the original story. Since Oswald is just in a loop based on the memory of his death, specific details don't matter so much anymore. Oswald's soul is being forced to go through this experience over and over again. Eleanor gave Oswald's world 8-bit graphics, like a video game, just like she does in the secret ending of Return to the Pit. This would also mean it does not matter at all which ending you get when playing Into the Pit, because the loop will reset anyway and Oswald will have to do it all again. This would mean every single Into the Pit ending is the canon ending, as they have all already happened while playing the game, and they will all happen again. However, there is hope. I do think the Stitch Rave being in the game means something. At the end of the Stitch Rave Stingers, Jake, the soul of the kid inside the Stitch Rave, goes inside the ball pit. In the ball pit, Jake travels through the memories of everyone who is trapped inside the ball pit, and he frees their souls by turning the bad memories they lived through into happy ones instead. That way the souls are no longer tormented inside the ball pit. I believe the Stitch Rave being Into the Pit means that Jake is inside the ball pit world. It'll take time, but every single soul will be freed, meaning Oswald is not going to be tormented forever. He will eventually be free. This is everything I have to say about the Into the Pit game and Return to the Pit. Thank you all for watching, and I will see you all soon. Bye everyone.